I love record on things.
Record on things.
Record on things. Awesome. Record.
Record.
Are we recording yet? Nick?
Yes, we are.
Fantastic.
I'm on the ball.
All right. Oh, God. Okay, before we start, let's stop.
Hello, and welcome once again to No Gods, No Monsters, a show where a group of us as actors, writers and directors sit around and pretend to be criminals in a haunted city powered by demon blood. And no Steph this week. She's off on another job, so although she's not here, rejoined, should I say, by
Lance Moon. So, as you should be aware by now, I'm a skipper. I'm Taichirosi, and I work with Willow and Morton as a bit of a smuggler.
I'm playing Morton, who is a former dredger turned smuggler and motivated by the idea of pulling himself out of the gutter.
And with that, let's play Blades in the Dark. Last time, Arabella was discovered by Willow having just murdered a character known as Cress, one of the Taichirosi gang bosses that runs the quarter within Six Towers, and maintained that he had changed when they were together in a moment of intimacy. And with his subsequent demise, they found themselves being tracked down by the Reapers, looking for vengeance on what had happened to their fallen comrade. They made their escape, climbing quickly out of the window and taking what few possessions they own with them, leaving a lot behind. And jumping around in the timeline somewhat, Morton made the journey to Crowsfoot and locating one of the local powers, that's of the sheer disrespects, a crew who have made it a home on the West Bank near Tangletown and have acted on a certain peace into the otherwise very violent district run by gangs, and the war in Crowsfoot for the time is over. Negotiating with one of the leaders, Phineas Habermathy, once well-to-do noble but now fallen and running with the gangs in the gutter, has made good on a life that he thought he had left behind. He offered a location that they might be able to collaborate together, work together in unison, and offered them choices of locations that they had available to rent. That's of a boathouse, a dry dock, and ultimately selecting an old port authority which had been abandoned for many a year. Back into the night before, and Willow was able to track down the spirit of Walter Sturgis, a notorious serial killer. But Willow took multiple hits and arrived at the new hideout battered and bruised, and is now in a period of recovery, while Morton ran into a rather stubborn figure, a teenage girl who maintained that she had stolen one of Dosvol's most prized possessions. We're going to pick up the action there, with multiple gunshots going off the nights before, and several jobs which you have been associated with. While bodies have been few, there still have been casualties along the way as we rejoin Morton.
As we've got quite a few repercussions from the events of the night before, I think it might be a good time for me to go and seek out Phineas. See if I can persuade him to help out and maybe divert some attention that might be falling down this area.
As you approach in the late hours of the morning, the sheer disrespect, the boat itself, the old Leviathan tug, sits in the waters, bobbing gently. Tangletown just visible through the heavy fog. And the district of Crowsfoot itself relatively quiet.
I shall approach the old tug, saunter up the gangplank as I've done before, and keep my eyes peeled for thugs and heavies that I'm quite accustomed to at this point.
Just one figure stands on deck. In her, what looks to be late 20s, dark hair, loosely piled up on top of her head, satin hood around her shoulders. Turns back, looks at you, cocks her head ever so slightly.
Hello, figure in the dark.
I could say the same to you.
Don't worry, I mean you no harm whatsoever, and I hope you can extend to me the same courtesy.
Looks you up and down. You're who I think you are. I'm assuming you're here to see Phineas.
You know me well.
He mentioned you. So did the others.
I see. Well, I hope only good things.
Some were. Less than complimentary. They remember.
What a shame. Well, our association is yet young. We'll grow till we know each other famously, I'm sure.
I like to keep an open mind.
Not too open, I hope.
As you observe her, she kind of starts to walk towards you a little more, and you see bouncing from her belt a spirit mask.
Okay.
It's looking into the ghost field. It's what the spirit wardens wear permanently, but they have the crow-themed, almost Plague Doctor style, cast in bronze. This one's a red metallic, multiple decorative chains that drape around from under the eyes. Evidently resident whisper.
I take a step back. You're not holding anything spooky and wibbly, are you? Is that something that you do quite often?
I like to think of misunderstood. Those that really don't get to say their side of the story. You catch my meaning?
I catch your meaning all too well, though I wish I was none the wiser. I want to go and see Phineas now.
I'll make you a bet. Come over, we'll come down.
This time in the morning? It's not a come down, it's doing something wrong.
She opens up the bulkhead door leading inside. Itself wooden floorboards that go down into a stairwell and upwards towards the cabin of the tugboat itself. And she leads you downstairs as the lights becomes much more dim. Long shadows creep out from the corners. Only the fluorescent lighting intermittently working casts these very bright light pools before disappearing into near darkness as she leads you each side lined with doors, stopping by one and just bangs on it. You hear the muffled voice from behind of, "No, fucking this." There's clatter from within, and the door is opened, hair half over his eyes, shirt undone, still wearing one shoe, very sleepy and clearly in some sort of very raw state. You'll have to remind me.
Diary.
Of course it is.
Morning, sunshine.
Is it? In which case, he looks and there's the watch still hanging loosely down. He looks at it. Still too early. What can I do for you at this fine hour?
Of course, our arrangement was based on the pillar of subtlety. No questions asked, no one's heard of us. I was wondering if I might be able to convince you to assist in that a little more.
I can certainly mention names, I can talk to people. Always helps if there's something to grease the wheels.
I have a little coin on my part. All I'm hoping is that you can put out some rumours for us. Rumours that do not implicate us, but muddy the waters a little bit.
It's always easier with coin. What are you willing to part with?
I think a coin, for what we're asking.
I can certainly talk to people.
Very much appreciated if you would.
He extends a hand, waiting for the payment.
She'll pass over something of a decent value.
Takes it. Right. I'm sure I can do something with this.
A few words in the right ears.
Of course. It's all the same to you. I am going to retire once again, and please don't ever call for me this early again.
You've got a busy schedule to keep.
I'd like to think of it as more spontaneous engagement.
In this circumstance, the early bird has got the coin.
Flicks the trinket, catches it. And I dare say I know somebody who will at least admire it.
Rest up well.
I fully intend to. The door doesn't even close fully. You could just about make out the port as he just kind of falls back into bed, like face down onto the pillow. And with that, let's go to Lance, who last time we left was met with a friend who informed him of recent arrivals to Doskvol, that of Steiner, known from mercenary work during the Unification War several years previously, and quite a vicious figure, arriving with somebody calling themselves Arden Vale. Newly arrived into the docks, a once thriving trade hub, now a refugee camp for the many that arrive from Scotland on a daily basis. Lance, is there anything you would like to do?
Well, naturally, I want to eliminate the threat. However, there's a few things I need to consider. I think I should go seeking assistance. I should go and pay a visit to Valeris.
The information itself coming from Valeris originally, and with several days now past. Last time you saw him, nursing a large bruise, having met with the Bluecoats in a rather unpredictable manner. This time, swelling has gone down massively, eyes open once again, as you locate him of an evening, sat at a bar, quiet table in the corner, himself nursing a drink with another one, pewter mug sits in front of him, ready for you.
Good to see you, old friend.
Slightly better condition than the last time.
I'm pleased to see.
Ready a drink.
I'll return the favour shortly. I've been keeping low.
So it would seem, although your friends seem
to have done the opposite.
Absolutely. Shows you a newspaper, obviously opens it up, folds it round to you, and a story of escalating violence within the Tucharossi Quarter in 6 Towers.
At least I wasn't involved.
Which I'm surprised. 2 bodies and no lanceman.
Well, upon your advice, as I said, I've been keeping a low profile, judging how best to make my next move, which brings me back here.
And which I have something.
What do you have?
So, through the network, Steiner seems to be holed up. He's running with one of the Scotland gangs, yet to emerge out of the tar. But building up, or re-establishing, you might say, a much-deserved reputation. The other one left shortly after. Tucharossi, white-haired black sclera.
What to do?
I also came into possession of this as he reaches inside and takes out from his inside pocket a business card, passes it over, and for one Priscilla Giant. The card itself is that of one of the ciphers of the messaging system that runs through the city, and very much a part of the communication system. As he taps the card and says, "She's a rather formidable figure if you take away from the routine day-to-day employment that she offers. Typing pools, messenger services, but secretly, she's the go-to for 90% of the city's assassination contracts. She's a broker of sorts. No one buys it officially without her official say-so.
Okay.
And if you, knowing your skill set, are in the market for gainful employment, that's just paying her a visit." Pushes the cards across the table.
As invaluable as ever. Thank you.
Atlanta keeps me alive. It's amazing what people will later get away with if you provide them with information. Sorry I can't be of more help with 2 new arrivals.
That's all I need. I'm just glad to see you well again, friend.
As ever, offers you the mug.
Cheers.
Now, business out of the way. What say you we have a refill?
You read my mind.
Downs his drink, makes his way to the bar. With that, let's go to the next morning. With new keys in possession, I'm going to ask Lance, are you going along for this? We're going to a newly acquired hideout, the former Port Authority office.
I'm feeling confident after my assistance from a good old friend last night. It revitalised me, so I'm in favour to carry it forward.
As you arrive, keys in hand, opening up the door, can't help but notice a slight twinge in your arm from the few days that have passed, as the rather nasty scratches that you obtained last time are now becoming infected. Wrapped in bandages which now stick.
I'm going to have to get that checked out.
Yes.
I think so.
Opening it up, and for the first time seeing inside for Lance, the whole room itself is somewhat covered in a thick layer of dust, unused for many a year. Towards the back, there are two very, very sturdy-looking double doors, which themselves bolted, chained, held together with quite a degree of security measures, the old holding units. Itself at the moment inaccessible. Along one side there are frosted glass offices, and from which one of them emerges Arabella.
Letting yourself in, I see?
Where else am I going to see? The gut.
Did you find a cozy spot?
No. I found an old straw mattress, which I can only hope was damp with rain.
Yeah, there's a bit of a smell of a rat around here. Absolutely. Not quite what I would hope to provide you with, but needs must. We'll get this place. What is it? If it was perfect already, what would we have to gain?
Something that isn't a piss-soaked mattress.
We'll get you some goose feathers at some point, I'm sure.
Sure you will.
So Arabella's found ourselves a little nook.
With such a kind offer, that one day, just maybe, you might be able to sort this place out. How about you set me up with a bit of coin, which I had to leave behind, and I make this place a little more comfortable?
Not a very kind offer.
It's not for your benefit.
Well, as long as you don't only focus on your little nook, do something nice for the rest of us as well, I'm sure we can arrange something. Couple of coin?
2 coin or cover.
See if we can get this place looking all spruce. Clean some windows, and the like.
Lance, taking in the sights around you, that eye from years of service within the Legion, Taishirosi mercenary employment, you recognise this place that it is decidedly shored up against any kind of raid. The windows themselves barred, the locks on that door alone are enough to deter most would-be intruders. Even certain aspects of it, you'd pass by usually unnoticed. You can't help but notice that the front short stairwell that leads down into the main office has dozens of tiny little holes in it. Itself an electroplasmic rig which sends up spikes into the floor below and electrifies the entire stairwell, should it be required.
Nice. What are your thoughts on fish? Specifically, big fish and little fish. I was come upon by Millicent the other day. She was talking about a very big fish, Star of Taishiros. Seems to say that it's on the move, and if we were to find it, we might be able to make a tidy profit. She didn't tell us a lot, very much leaving it to our own devices, whether we wanted to pursue that. It's been on my mind a little bit since then. But we've only just moved in here, and that's going to be a very big thing to think about if we decide to go down that route. So I'm wondering whether we spend time and resources thinking about that, or whether we take some smaller jobs, because we've got bills to pay, quite extensive bills.
Well, extensive bills could be quite easily solved with a big haul or a big fishy.
They're going to keep on racking up while we do it, though.
So how easy is this big fish to reel in?
Well, our starting point is that we don't know where it is, we don't know who's got it, we don't know when it's being moved, we don't know where it's being moved from, we don't know where it's being moved to, we don't know how it's being moved. So it's going to be very difficult to come up with a plan. In all of that time, we're not making anything out of it. So do we take the little fish for now and work our way up to it, put ourselves into great financial risk by going straight for it?
Well, no risk, no reward. However, it's not all that easy chasing a ghost. So I would suggest that we take on some smaller jobs, cover our costs, keep our eye on the prize, keep our ears to the ground.
See what comes up. We obviously we've got a few options. Part of the deal, working here, is that Phineas is going to need us to work for his outfit for a little while. There is also a contact of mine that will deal in some small fry jobs, movers.
So how reliable is this source of yours, this big fish? Obviously my eyes are glistening.
Millicent, voice comes from Arabella. You have the words of an impetuous teenager, and her assurance, I assume.
There were some parts of her that I believed. I think I got a good read on her when she was going into Fantasyland. That's not the kind of thing that people come up with. She was too hungry for it, and she was desperate.
Did she seem scared?
I wouldn't say scared. I would say shame, humiliated.
Why?
She had it in the palm of her hand, so she says.
It
was almost like she got calmed down. That can't feel good.
If it was in the palm of her hand, how do we know so little?
Well, she passed it on to Leclerc, and Leclerc passed it on to someone else. That would be how we go and that would be our first lead. Either go and have a chat with Leclerc, or we move on and get some eyes on Leclerc. Or if we want to take another route, I can go and speak to Uncle Benedict. Of course, he's still got his fingers in the smuggling game.
Whoever is the more trusted source is always preferable.
Well, that would be separate. Ben's got low risk, low reward jobs for us.
We can go and see him. We scratch his back, he scratches ours.
Yeah, and he wants to see Pappy looked after as well, so it's in his benefit.
Sounds like a win-win.
We can leave this. Once we've got a little bit more time, we can set up some surveillance on the clerk.
Sounds good.
See who's coming in, see who's going out. Alright, let's go see Uncle Benedict.
Journeying over to Charles himself at the point as you arrive, putting a heavy boot into the electroplasmic engine of his own dredger itself, refusing to move as there's a rather heated exchange going between him and a gentleman in a pinstripe suit, bowler hat, the smart dress, and yet being on a dredger. Instantly you know this is Ministry of Preservation. The orchestrators of power, of everything that runs in the city is through them. They're very much the bureaucracy and generally despised by those that work underneath their wings.
Straight people are supposed to cook it.
They're highly corrupt, but
Yeah.
theirs is very much backhanders, bribes, rather than the smash and grabs and hits of the underworld. Another kick, and as he turns his... Well, I see, unless you get me another one, you can fuck off right now.
Is the old drudge giving you some trouble?
Which one?
Oh, well, the vessel, of course. I would not be so presumptuous as to talk about our esteemed guest that way.
Well, I tried kicking the generator twice and nothing, so...
Keep kicking, is what Pappy always used to say.
Yeah, again, which one? Watches as this figure straightens his lapel. It's all the same to you, sir. I expect this machine to be operational by tomorrow. You have a list of prerequisite parts. I'm assuming that yourself or someone on your crew can at least get it running. So it walks off in this very affected, aggravated, kind of snappy little shoulder movements.
Needs a little bit of grease then.
Yeah, you could say that. I send them down occasionally. I don't need to tell you. Right. Well, as he rolls his sleeves up, takes out a toolbox from a under-deck hatch.
You're doing well, Uncle.
Well, as can be expected. Still, no sign of retirement. Do believe I'll be 2 weeks legally dead by the time I actually get my retirement severance.
Yeah, it's always the same.
Yeah, what it is.
No, with the straight game, there's only one way out of that. And well, I'm here to have a chat with you, actually.
All right, if you don't mind chatting while I'm working away.
Yeah,
Wrench
I'll swallow over.
loosens two of the bolts on the main hatch, swings the door open with a resounding rusty creak, starts going through all the different cabling. So go on.
You know Pappy's not doing all right. He's getting by, right?
No, I know. I went round and saw him. He thought I was you for about 20 minutes.
That kind of thing's happening more and more. Yeah. Since he got in contact with that, it's not been the same. He still needs looking after, and it ain't cheap. So I was wondering if I could come and chew your ear off, see if you've got any contacts, know if anyone needed something moved.
I mean, looks up downstream. We're all in a game. Problem is, there are those in the game who are further ahead in the race. Foghounds have been making things difficult for all of us.
Yeah.
They bring stuff in off the harbour. None of us have got seafarers.
So they got a first pick.
Absolutely. Half the ships dock out, drop anchor, half a mile out, offload to the Hounds, and they bring it in or out. So unless you're in the market and looking to buy yourself a seafarer, then I can't exactly.
I suppose their loss would be our gain.
I'm thinking a bit of.
I mean, look how easily these things break down.
Well, no. It's almost like I wanted to get the evening off, so the bastard thing plugs the cable in. We're sabotaged.
And if that kind of thing would have happened to any of the Hounds, seafarers, then all that pie is still there.
Well, I know too well. The only thing is, being that little bit bigger, they're that little bit nastier as well. One of them, Bear, they call it. You'll see why when you see him. He looks like one. Where's an old captain's at, despite the fact he hasn't earned rank, but no one's complaining to him because those that do tend to end up with a few less teeth.
you're going to start something, just be ready for what comes next.
So, Bear runs one of these seafarers, does he?
I believe so. The lady runs the whole thing. Don't know the name. Just word and speculation.
Do you know where they are?
Has a spot in the docks. Small little old storage, holdout warehouse from way back when. Now it's half, no questions, half bar room.
Nice place to unwind.
Yeah, well, if you're connected, they'll let you in. Unfortunately for the likes of us,
They know.
we're not connected.
Yeah.
Turns the wrench.
They probably won't appreciate working with their competition, though. Inviting them in for a drink.
Probably not, and when you're onto a good thing,
But that's where they'll be. They'll be busy.
maybe. Like I say, they don't tend to cut me in on their private messages.
But if that's where they are, then they won't be keeping an eye on their seafarers. We can hatch a little plan and see if we can make things work a little bit better for our outfit.
Well, absolutely. And I tell you what, if you want something a little bit small, low key, take us out for the evening run. Little delivery on the way, nothing too big. Spot your coin for it.
Is that what you got?
Looking to get the evening off.
Got better places to be.
Well, it's Esme, she's just had her first, so.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. All well and good, so I thought, go and pay him a visit.
Where the baby's at?
Oh, if you do insist. But take this one out, stop the powers that be looming over a delivery to be made. Coleridge.
Coleridge.
Yeah.
Nice and easy to get to from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Just run the waterways along the road. You know the drill.
Exactly. He's the contact.
Factory foreman Grooves. Yeah, he runs the big place lights on the road.
To Williger Industries. No questions asked?
None at all.
It's not spooky, is it?
Nah. Said he'd meet you out on jetty out front.
Relief. Well, one question asked then. Alright, we'll get that done.
Yeah, well,
You send us them on guards.
I shall, yeah. And if you want to catch something, rods are in the back.
Very nice.
It's dragfish.
Very oily.
Oily taste of dirt.
I'll get this back to you in one piece, or maybe a few pieces missing if you prefer.
As he hands over various route maps, steps off, top of the flat cap, and there you go. Walks off into the foggy darkness.
We'll set off down to Coleridge. Send some rods off the map.
Once the enormous drill lowered in to bring up the silt from the bottom, churning away the hopper, collecting that old algae, now turned to a dark, slightly odorous brown colour. Heavy engine billowing smoke into the air, which soon begins to coalesce with the smoke billowed into the air by the region of Coleridge, the industrial district. A web of factories, quarries, a place of veritable industry.
How's she handled compared to Murky Sue?
Not too bad.
A few weird idiosyncrasies, I'm sure.
Bit of character.
You've been doing alright.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing alright.
That was pretty weird stuff we experienced.
I
I don't like it. Being chased by ghosts, tracking them down, and
Yeah.
I just want to move stuff. I want to, have a nice, simple time. I don't want to have to be dealing with all this stuff. I can see what it's done to people. It's bad news.
Yeah, I don't go looking for them. But they seem to find us.
All we've done since Willow turned up, it's just been ghost, ghost, ghosts.
Yeah, she does seem to attract that sort.
If I was a stronger man, I'm not so desperate for the cash. Desperate to get out of here if I was more principled. I wouldn't touch it. But with Pappy the way he is, Roscoe's sniffing about all over the place. It's hard to turn down.
Well, yeah, we do need to make ends meet, right?
Yeah, because it got you quite bad, didn't it?
I'm alright.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy those encounters, I must admit. But so far, there's been no fatalities. We seem to be doing alright.
It's not the fatalities I'm worried about. If I got snuffed out like a lamb, no one's going to mind too much, That's not what scares me, it's not what keeps me up at night. It's the withering. It's the slowly losing a bit more of yourself every day. I'd rather just go out into the sea and jump into the ocean. There's nothing you do about it once it starts. Whatever you do, don't let it touch you. Don't let it get its grip onto you the way that it did to Pappy, right? I don't want to lose another friend. Not like that.
Pappy might come around. You never know. There could be some cure.
We can only hope. If there isn't, we've just got to do what we got to do. Well, keep him comfy.
There's always a remedy. There's always something. We'll find something. Or Willow may.
Yeah. If I ever get down that road. If I ever do, if I start going that way, just put a bullet in my head. We do that.
And that's what you want. Pains me to say.
Just hope I've got the wherewithal to make my wishes known. Fair to say I've burned and I've still got all my marbles.
We'll be alright.
I admire your positivity.
Besides, death is nothing to be feared.
It's the hanging about I don't want. You know me. Get on with it.
As you round the corner, you see the jetty poking out into the wider canal. Rather apprehensive figure stands on there, hands in pockets, coat turned up against the wind. Old, warm woolen hat. Stamping their feet against the cold. Clearly apprehensive, clearly up to something.
We will get up to the jetty. Understand you ordered a goodly amount of algae.
Yeah. For the foundry.
Yeah? Twinigate Industries is running a bit low, is it?
Yeah, well, we've got nothing inside. Never believe it.
What a shame. What a shame. Well, good thing we turned up when we did.
You're with Benedict, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
Just below, here's your shipment of algae.
He takes parcel sort of yay big, pulled out of the hopper, now covered in detritus and debris, brushes it off with a well-worn sleeve, hastily puts it under his arm.
Don't worry, the smell will clear.
It's not the smell I'm worried about. As he hastily beats a retreat back inside, back towards the large roller doors back of the warehouse side, and the two of you kicking the dredger back into gear, taking it off its lance, passing by, rounding a corner, which itself is quite narrow, takes a little bit of time to navigate these wide base. Dredgers do not corner particularly well. You notice a figure stood on a balcony with that description that you recognise. White hair, and although the distance is quite something, you think you make out the black sclera. It's like turning the head as you pass by.
Did you see that?
What have you spotted?
I'm not quite sure.
Friend of yours?
No.
Worse.
Worse. Still. We'll carry on.
Not one of these times we need to engage. One of these times that we need to not be seen. Pretend like we haven't noticed.
I think so. Let's move on.
We'll keep an eye peeled, make sure they're not following us.
Good call.
We do nothing different. Slink the back over the back of the road and try and catch any fish.
I'm going to say, just on the back of that, make me check.
I can sway the fish on the hook.
Yeah,
I mean, technically with the bait, yeah, that's
let's
for
do
that.
some
Yeah.
swaying. We're going to sway some fish. And I get a 6.
Large catch, the usual dragfish. This a little bit like a catfish. These things over decades of dredging have learned that if you follow it, they pretty much eat through whatever the dredger doesn't pick up. So you quite often see the ripples following. And in the meantime, you can feed a family with them. It's just not a particularly palatable dish. But yeah, into the old wooden bucket, and the night going on, the route finishes, delivery made, docking up. Is there anything you would like to do?
Pop my head in on Arabella, just see how she's getting on with the renovation.
Maybe a single die check.
4.
As she sits back in a single, comfortable-looking armchair,
Very
as I take the liberty of killing multiple birds with stones.
Poor little tweet by.
Courtesy of Nicole.
You have been busy.
Absolutely.
What have you learned of our new acquaintance?
Not as much as I would have liked, but she has a second book. There's the store ledger. I know that because the chair is in it. But she has a second book. Small black leather bound, kept on her person, as far as I can tell. She regarded it once when talking to somebody.
Excellent.
Who she was talking to, I couldn't tell you.
Where were they talking?
In her store. And how is the important thing.
How were they talking?
Hand signals. made up a big part of their conversation. Their dialogue was mundane. But the Hounds are something else. Leads me to suspect wraiths.
Wraiths.
If she's fencing for the wraiths, well, she's obviously moving certain things of high value.
Well, that somewhat confirms Millicent's suppositions. Maybe that's the right person to investigate her book. Very much appreciate your efforts.
I try.
Well, we should celebrate.
I don't have any money. I spent it on a chair.
Oh, well, you have a very nice chair.
Oh, we'll share it. As the evening goes on, Lance, is there any way you would like to go?
Perhaps I'll go visit that woman, find out about some jobs, see if I can get any information from Steiner.
Entering the location itself in Charter Hall, the professional district, where the banks, lawyers' offices, physicals, private practices, hers opens up into a large typing pool. Multiple stylized typewriters sit now unused, and a solitary figure occupies the space in a raised area at the back of the room. Rather austere-looking woman, red hair, slightly librarian-esque in her appearance as she looks as you enter, looks over the top of a pair of cat-eye spectacles, lowers them down slightly. Can I help you?
I believe you may.
The office is now closed.
Would you be so kind to us lend me a minute of your time?
But of course. What could I do for you?
I received a rather concerning warning recently, and I've also been recommended that I pay you a visit, as I understand you're a woman of much influence.
Something vaguely resembling a smile catches the corner of her lips. Ah, yes. Your concerns, primarily, what would they be? If you're worried that there's a contract out for you, anything that's has gone on has been behind the closed doors of another organisation. There are others. I'm just the primary enabler. No one of your description has crossed my desk.
Well, that's reassuring.
That's not to say that it hasn't crossed somebody else's.
Well, I'm pleased that it didn't cross the principal desk. I feel I would like to align myself with you. If there is any way I can assist you.
I dare say there is. I will start you out with something small, low-key. I'm sure you understand.
Of course.
Somebody that has been something of a problem to multiple other persons. It's a group contract, meaning that the contract has been provided by those from multiple sources. Money is piecemeal. You, of course, take the majority, I take a broker's fee, and I appreciate silence, at least subtlety. And you are of a disposition, you might say, to undertake this one specifically. She goes into an office, comes back momentarily, dossier in hand, opens it up, takes out several bits of information, including a photograph, places it on one of the nearby tables, walking towards you, her heels clicking, the only sound in the room as she places it down on the table, and depicts a Taisharosi, Castellan Saris. Now, from my understanding, Saris is quite a common name. It's a Taisharosi in-joke. A lot of those that are on the run will adopt it as a name. In Taisharosi, it means no one. So quite often bounty hunters will rock up in the Taisharosi quarter and literally say, I'm looking for no one.
Helpful.
Yes, but perhaps somebody who has the means to go into such a district, has the ear of some of those in it, might be able to track down Castellan nobody.
Castellan nobody.
Taps this image. It shows a figure mid-40s to 50s, very heavy set, distinct markings that seem to sit just below the skin. The image itself isn't in colour. The use of plasm, rather than being black and white, has turned it a faint tone of blue. The bounty, as it stands, is 4 coin. So,
I'll do my best.
I've heard that before. What I've realised is that the best have earned that reputation. I know because they're the ones that are still alive. Your best needs to be the best. Deft touch and silence are admirable qualities in such an occupation.
Qualities in which I hold myself very much accountable to.
I'm glad to hear it. I don't do names. The less I know, the better. All I will say is good luck to you.
Thank you.
and with the image in hand, the vague details that you do possess, we're going to call the session there. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time. Goodbye.